that I just can't diffuse. But I know, the tricks up your sleeve.
Good evening and welcome to another segment of 360 Degrees to Success. I have my guest Francisco Fuertes here.
Yes.
I've known Francisco since 2015, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Francisco is an executive director with the John Maxwell team. He's a certified coach, speaker, and trainer who has more than 40 years of leadership experience in the corporate and technology fields. He offers workshops, seminars, keynote speeches, and coaching to assist personal and professional growth of individuals, organizations, and companies around the world. He's conducted leadership trainings in the United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, Paraguay, Costa Rica, and Mexico. He hasn't really been anywhere. He's a motivator who encourages his clients along the path of self-discovery and fulfillment. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Welcome to the show. I met Francisco when I joined John Maxwell team in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we know each other, and we do a lot of things together, and he does a lot of his own stuff. But also, that he didn't include in his bio, is he's a professional voiceover guy, right?
Yeah, mostly in Spanish.
So Francisco, just let the audience know kind of what you do, and the show is basically, it's called 360 Degrees of Success, as you know. And what I do is have business owners, entrepreneurs on to share their successes and their failures, and what it takes to be successful in your own business. That there's no such thing as an overnight success.
No.
But give people the tools that hey, if they want to do something, they could do it.
Absolutely, no, and that's also what I do. I help people overcome blocks. Also, just kind of like solidify their goals. So that's part of the coaching. However, like as you said in the introduction, I do a lot of things. So also there's a lot of youth work that you and I have done, work with youth and youth leadership. And so for example, for executives in the coaching, I help them, for example, improve their communications. It seems to be that any company has a problem with is communications and the way that people communicate within the company, and that also affects how they're motivated, how you talk to people. And what I found in one of my certifications is called DISC. Some people may know about it. It's basically personality profiles. It's rather simplistic at first, but it does work. Let
me say something about that. Francisco, about a month or so ago, had sent me the link to do a disc, and what it does is it asks a series of questions, and then it prints out a 14 to 15 page report, something like that, and it tells you who you are, basically. And I couldn't believe how right on it was. I mean, we laughed about it, and he said, yeah, everybody tells me that all the time.
Yeah.
There was maybe two things that I thought maybe weren't me, but they weren't far off.
Right.
So, you look at this and you're like, wait, who's looking over my shoulder? And that's how effective it is. And what it does, what kind of evaluation is that? What does it tell people?
It tells them how they're wired, how you're originally wired. Basically, we divide people, or the disc divides people in outgoing or reserved. So when you know somebody, you can find out as you're talking to them, well, are they a reserved person or are they more outgoing? Once you know that, you start thinking, well, now are they task-oriented or people-oriented? So once you figure out those two things, whether they're reserved or outgoing or task-oriented or people-oriented, you basically know everything about them. Now, the assessment that you took, it's taken years to make it perfect, but it is based on DISC. So when you have somebody who's outgoing and people-oriented, we call them D for direct. They're dominant. Those are your natural-born leaders. When you have somebody who's outgoing and people-oriented, those are I's. They're more fun-loving. They don't go to parties. They are the party. So they're inspirational. Then on the bottom quadrant, you would have the reserved and people-oriented. So those are your S, your more secure people. They are the nicest people you could find. And also they're the people who are the easiest hurt. And then on the last quadrant, which would be your task-oriented and reserved, is your C's. C's are calculating. They're constant. They like lists. They measure 3 times and cut once. We like to joke and say, they proofread the photocopies. So basically, with those 4 things, it doesn't mean that one personality is better than the other one or worse. It just means that this is how we are wired. This is how we process things. So once you're able to identify basically what type the other person is, you can talk to them in their language. A person direct, like for example, I'm an I, right? Like outgoing, people oriented. But when I bump into somebody who's a D, who's more direct, there's a little voice in my head that says, okay, get to the point. Get to the point. It's like don't give too much detail. Don't paint the picture too much.
Right.
Because it's
don't do like the Edith Bunker version of the story, right?
Exactly. So it's that kind of awareness, but also when you understand that each personality has a fuel, then you're able to communicate with them. And if those people are your employees or people that you have to deal every day, then you understand how to talk to them. Because like I said, a direct person is, get things done.
If our viewers or listeners want to have a disc assessment done, how could they reach you?
Just go send me an email at francisco@fuertes.com. So it's my name with the @ in the middle. Last name is spelled Fuertes, Fuertes, not like Daisy, Fuen. Or you can find information on fuertes.com, Fuertes.com.
And we were talking earlier, Francisco does, as well as I do, youth leadership type events. And was it 2 years ago already that we did it? Or it wasn't a year ago, it was 2 years.
2 years ago.
2 years ago at the Holiday Inn in Westbury, we did Youth Max Plus. And if anybody is familiar with, most people have heard of him, but Nick Vujicic is an amazing motivational speaker. He has no arms, no legs. He's very well in demand. He put together a program in conjunction with John Maxwell. We're both licensed to teach it, and what we did was we got a lot of businesses to sponsor and purchase tickets, and we gave them away to the local high schools. So we had a half a day on a Saturday, 2 years ago in October, and it was really went well.
Right.
It was a lot of fun.
And the thing with teens, the amazing thing is that you're talking to them, you're showing them the videos that Nick Vujicic has done, and you have no idea what they're processing. You have no idea because it's not cool to show emotion. So what we did is at the end of that presentation, we had a big thank you card, and we had arranged with the John Maxwell team that Nick Vujicic would get that card. And what these kids wrote was just amazing. Number one, when we told them, they just like...
Right, and when I showed you some of the, because I think I transcribed some of the testimonials and things from the card, and so we didn't even realize, they're not free, like you said, to say in public how they feel and how they did, but when we read some of those testimonials, we knew how we reached them, and there were levels that we were like, wow,
amazing, because they didn't write just, oh, thank you, Nick. No, they were entire paragraphs. It's like
I didn't realize that I was blank, and thank you for inspiring me. They were really thoughtful comments.
Amazing, and that's that's when it becomes so rewarding. That you're actually getting through to teenagers.
So your background prior to getting into John Maxwell, because I didn't know you really before then. What were you, like an acting, voiceover?
I've done everything. I've done IT. I've done corporate America, but also on the side, I was always doing acting. And I was an actor since like 18 years old. I belonged to all the unions, but acting doesn't really pay the mortgage. So
unless you're Al Pacino.
So I kept active. I did it. I've been doing and still do a lot of voiceover work for Spanish commercials, and I had a long gig with the voice of the lottery guy. The jackpot is now.
Well, actually, you did one famous one back from my day for the car, Cordoba. Everybody remember the Cordoba commercials? The Corinthian leather? That's you, right?
Leather. No, that was Tattoo, I think.
Right, but didn't you do something similar?
It was also an automobile, and I was lucky enough to do the English and the Spanish. So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of that. So speaking obviously has come natural to me, but when I found John Maxwell, it was kind of like a way to put all the experience together with management, with leading people, with carrying on and leading projects that had to, when I was in IT, I had to literally transfer a computer center from St. Louis, Missouri, who was running the operations for Dallas and Toronto and Guadalajara, Mexico. We brought it down in St. Louis on Thursday, and it was up in Atlanta on Monday. Right. So that required a lot of leadership and planning. So with those skills, when I came to John Maxwell, I said, this is where I can put everything together.
When you get into the leadership world and you're associating yourself with the right people, things come your way.
Absolutely.
And John Maxwell it's a great organization. They have IMCs, which is
International Maxwell Certification.
Twice a year, usually in February and August, in Orlando, Florida, and they bring in these special guests. And Les Brown has been there. I'm trying to think, Paul Shealy, but just to go along that realm. And then I got before I got into John Maxwell, I was listening a lot to Tony Robbins and Darren Hardy and Jack Canfield, and so everything kind of like mixes together. You start hearing a lot of the same things. So on my show, which has turned into a TV show, before that was a radio show, and I've had Les Brown on. I've had Jack Canfield on.
Wow.
And who else? I interviewed Burt Ward in person in Manhattan, which was probably not the most fun interview I ever did, because as a kid that was like, it's Robin, right? So that was really, really cool. But the interesting thing about Jack Canfield, what Jack Canfield teaches, one of the things he teaches is ask, right? Because if you don't ask, there'll always be no. And as kids, we ask all the time, and we don't take no for an answer. But as we get adults, we stop. We get it. We're afraid of the no, and we don't do that. And so we were I was at a retreat at his home in Santa Barbara. That was about 2.5 years ago, and it was like 3 full days or 2.5 days, and we're sitting out by his pool. We're eating lunch, and by the way, before that, I had offered everybody in the room was like authors and doing books and things like that. And I offered them all a free spot on my radio show, and he said, well, that's very grateful of you. Thank you very much. So he sits down next to me. And he says, tell me about your radio show. So I'm thinking, right away, I want him on my show, right? But before that, in the room, he said, when he first started out, he went on everything. Radio, TV, and now he's more picky and choosy. He only go on certain things. So now that's in the back of my mind, too. So I asked him, should I ask him? I'm telling my show, and he's really interested. So I asked him, I said, would you like to be on my show? I'd love to have you. Send me something about the show, and we'll keep in touch. All right. So he had in his living room in a cedar box one of the original copies signed by Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich. Wow. There's another book written by Napoleon Hill, Dancing with the Devil, that he had never heard of, that I just started reading at the time. So I sent him a letter and information package about my show, along with a copy of that book. I FedExed it to him. So this was in March. Back and forth a lot with his assistant. He's out of town. He's busy. And then sure enough, September of that year, he came on my show. Wow. And he appeared via Skype, so we had him on the screen behind us. And that wouldn't have happened had I not been in that world. Having that, that connection or that credibility, whatever the case may be. And, my show wasn't anything that was going to make or break him, but he did it.
Right. Right.
So he's a man of his word, right? Ask. And,
right.
So just the things like that you learn when you're in the leadership world.
Yes, absolutely. Well, John wrote a great leader. Good leaders ask great questions, and you have to ask. And sometimes we, like you said, as we grow up, we forget to ask.
Yeah, we do. Because we're afraid to know, right? One of the things I remember Jack Canfield said in one of his tapes, he said, you want to ask a girl to dinner, and you're afraid. You don't want to. You're afraid of no, whatever. So think of it this way, he said. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but basically he said, if you ask Mary out for a dinner date, and she says no, then you still don't have somebody to go to dinner with. So what's the
risk?
Right. Yeah. What's the risk?
Yeah, but it also goes down to the fear of failure, and a lot of people, it depends how we view failure. And that's also what we teach the kids, is that you have to understand that if you don't fail, you're not trying. You know, it's like you have to make failure your friend. We always give as an example Edison, right? How many times did he try the light bulb? And then,
I'm trying to remember the number now. I always have that number in my head. Now I don't
you
have
hear
it.
all sorts of numbers like
10,000 times or something like that?
Whatever, let's say 10,000, but what if he gave up at
3,000.
Right.
Or 1,000.
Before that, we would all be in the dark.
Colonel Sanders with KFC and the times he was turned down. There's a lot of stories like that.
Oprah Winfrey, you know, the background.
Yeah, they told her she'd never have a face or body for TV.
Yeah. And there she goes.
You hear those all the time. Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that you have to understand how to make friends with failure and how you view certain events. And sometimes we're too harsh on ourselves, and we a little mistake, we see it as a failure, and it's not. I mean, you cannot have success without failure. They go hand in hand. And
there's no such thing as an overnight success. And people think there is because you don't hear about this person until they're successful. You don't see everything that the person went through to get there.
No,
and it's true.
There's no overnight success. It's just overnight recognition.
Exactly.
But,
that's good. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah, you know, they recognize you, but geez, how long have you been doing it? You know, how long do you get to, you know? You gotta
have a powerful enough why. You have to figure out that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And a saying that I heard, again, from just a grab from Tony Robbins, and we've all probably said it sometime in our life, when we can't get anywhere, we're not moving forward. And you know the old saying, I've tried everything. Well, think about this. If you tried everything, you would have found a solution, right? And you wouldn't still be struggling if you take it for the word. So, you know, think about that for a while. And some of the sayings that we say and things like that, that there's more to it than, you know, maybe you thought you tried everything. So these 10 or 20 things didn't work. What else is out? What are your other options?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things we do in coaching. You know, we keep asking. It's like, what else? What else can you come up with? And a lot of the time, I love it when I'm coaching somebody and they go silent.
Can they go what?
They go silent. You know,
Okay.
You ask a question and they're very quiet. And so I've learned to, like, you know, to zip it and let the wheels turn. And invariably they go. And I said, okay, here comes the answer. You know, so it's a lot of times we have our own reasons why we haven't. You know, we keep hitting that lid. You know, and we don't go beyond that. And that's when, you know, we as coaches can help along.
And you talk about you know, procrastinating and people doing things and saying they're going to do things, and there's just so many examples. Ed DaCosta, who was one of our mentors, with John Maxwell, he does coaching as well on a corporate level, and he shared a story one time on one of his lectures that, you know, he was talking to this guy, and he was an executive in a company, and one of his goals was to go back to the gym and lose weight. So he said to the guy, and coaching, and people get the misconception of coaching is all about getting the person to tell you what the solution is. They don't want to hear what your solution is because they have it inside them.
Exactly.
So the guy says to Ed, he says, you know what, I'm probably going to start on Monday. So Ed says, he opens up his calendar and he says, I got Monday, I got Tuesday, I got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Said, I don't see a probably Monday on your calendar. So when are you going to do this? You know, because if you say something like that, then are you going to do it? No.
And the thing with procrastination usually comes along because of we have a fear of a negative outcome. You know, we have an idea that it's not going to be a positive thing if it gets done. So that's why we keep pushing it. So we need to look into that. You know, what are we expecting? What do we think the outcome is going to be? And sometimes, you know, that'll help us get out of the roadblock.
Look, I built my mediation practice. I do it full time. I started it part time in November 2011, and I was working with a law firm, so I brought that into that law firm at the time. And in the meantime, I was trying to plan on, eventually to go out on my own. And what happened was in November 2011, and in November of 2013, the attorney came to me and said, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm busy with real estate. I just took over my dad's practice. You probably don't want to just go back to being a paralegal. We should come up with an exit strategy. So I had a business strategic planner I was working with, Ed Gibbons from Rockford Kingsley, and he said, I don't know if you're ready yet, but give it a shot. So on January of 2014, I went out on my own. Hasn't been easy all the time, a lot of up and downs, but boy, working for myself is a lot better than working for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to go upstate to see my daughter and grandchildren, I go to the mirror and I ask myself, and I usually say yes. Right? I don't have to worry about, I just took vacation, 3 people in the office are out sick, I can't go out. You know, there are benefits to that.
Right.
Does it come with headaches? Sure.
Of course. But you have to pay the price. Everything has a price. John always says anything worthwhile is uphill.
Right.
That's another thing that you have to make friends with. The idea that it's not easy. Everything is uphill, but it's because it's worthwhile.
It is, and just to be in that world, and I think it's Jim Rohn who said you're a product of the 5 people you associate yourself with, the books you read, the tapes you listen to, right? So if you're around the wrong crowd, what good are they doing you where you're at? And again, not everybody wants to be in business for themselves. Not everybody wants to go out on their own. But there are other levels of leadership that that you could do that could further you in life. And just to get into that a little bit, we're going to talk about it more in a future show. But there's an event that we're doing with the John Maxwell team. They do it every year. We're going to be doing it probably at the same location in Westbury. It's called Live to Lead.
Right.
So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's basically it's a broadcast it's a simulcast. The event actually takes place in Atlanta, and then they feed to the locations throughout the country where the conversations are. And we usually have from 4 to 5 incredible leaders. What's her name? Fiorina was the last time. Carly Fiorina.
Yeah, we helped Donna do the one a couple of years ago. Maybe it was like 3 years ago.
Right.
And then you talk about doing it.
Right, but the wonderful thing about attending the event is that you have and the reason why we're not giving names is because they're not finalized. I mean, there's some rumors.
Can we give the one name that was released?
You have it?
Yeah, Steve Harvey.
No.
We can't get it?
No, we can't say that.
We can't. Okay, we can't say Steve Harvey's going to
just got us in trouble. But forget that. Erase that. No, there's like 90% that he might be there. But however, the important thing about attending the event is that it's not broadcast anywhere else, but when we set it up, and it's an opportunity in like one session to be guided and taught by top leaders, and at the end of it, you come out knowing a lot more, and you have had the opportunity of being taught by these people who are at the top of their game. So that's what we're working on for
October 11th.
October 11th,
right.
Yes.
That's definitely the date. In the future show, like I said, we'll have the website to sign up for it. We'll have ticket prices. Organizations can buy tables for their organization.
Absolutely.
It's an interactive, a little bit of workbooks.
There's a workbook that goes with it, and also, we'll do a presentation going along and by the end of it. So yeah, it's a full day.
I'm trying to remember, was it a full day or it's a little bit less than a full day, right? I think it's like 6 hours.
About
something like that.
About that.
And lunch is provided.
Right.
At the event.
Right. Exactly.
And we're just trying to finalize the venue for that.
Right, the place that we're shooting for about 200 people, so we have to find a location. But that's our problem. But the important thing is that when people come, they'll get a lot out of attending the event. And
it is called Live to Lead. So just keep your eye out for that. Francisco, again, if somebody wanted information on getting a disc profile done or one of your programs, how could they reach you?
Absolutely, at Fuertes.com, Fuertes.com, and the name is Francisco Fuertes, so you put Francisco at Fuertes.com, and that's my email, and you'll be able to contact me, and we can take it from there.
Now, with the John Maxwell team, some of the things you've done that I haven't got to do yet, because I wasn't able to, you've traveled a lot, to Paraguay and Costa Rica, and John has gone into these places where this stuff wasn't available.
Yeah.
And actually teaching these people, and could you talk about some of those?
Yeah, it's amazing. We literally went, I have stories and stories, but basically we went into these rural areas of Paraguay, or the city, or it was everywhere, at the petition of the president, because we don't go into any country without the president asking us to go there, because leadership is from the top down. So we go there and we train the people on doing roundtables on values, on self-values, and then we train the trainer. We basically train them, and then they go to their localities and their groups, and it could be church groups. We had people who were soybean farmers that we taught. It was a collective, and we were there, and like we flew for an hour, we drove for an hour, we did the training, they play the national anthem when we get out there in the field. So it's just beautiful stories. But basically that's what we do. It's just a matter of teaching people
leadership values throughout the world. And I saw some of the pictures and everything. So you're literally going to some for lack of a better term, third world countries.
Oh, yeah.
And how do the people there react, or how hard is it to connect with them? Is there like a time frame where it kind of takes to gain that trust, and or there's right away they're so excited?
Yes and no. It depends on your audience that you had. I've had going back to the farmers, you saw the light in their eyes, saying, I know I can do this. I can go back to my people. And then we've had in Costa Rica, we had a group of school principals who thought that, on top of their work schedule, we came, to give them more to do. So we explained what we were there for, and, we went from them being like this at the beginning and looking as funny, and by the end of the training, we're hugging and all that. So it's you get all sorts of reception, but the important thing is that by the end of the training, they see a value of the training, and also they see a way to apply it to their lives and how to train other people and how to spread that.
And some of the other programs that both Francisco and I are allowed to offer are programs that John Maxwell licensed us to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot like masterminds, where if maybe a full-blown, full-day, half-day thing isn't for you at another event, we would come to your organization and do a mastermind. Today Matters, 21 Laws of Leadership.
21 Laws of Leadership.
15 laws of
He's
growth.
always got a number.
And there's so many programs, and any one of these, Today Matters is a good one. I like that one. That's one of my favorites.
Put your dream to the test, and
put your dreams to the test. Could you name a couple that I didn't name? There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of things. It's funny how each one of us, we find things that will call us. For me, is the 15 laws, definitely, and everybody communicates if you connect. That to me has been game changer.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
especially in my field as a media.
No, but it's in everybody.
Especially,
I've had executives that came to me completely broken, and the company told them, go and improve your communication, and then we did coaching and we went over the book, and then like within a year they're already making partners, and it's like it's just very powerful teaching.
Youth Max Plus, like I talked about earlier, is a very good program. I've done a couple of Saturdays in my office where parents sign their kids up, and they actually came to my office on a Saturday. You could find out more about that at youthmax.me. To find out more about the Youth Max. The website for the show, if you want to find out more information, click on the YouTube link and become a subscriber, is 360degrees2success.com. So it's a number 360 and then spelled out degrees, T-O, success.com, and you can find out more about the show.
Great.
Anything else you'd like to say in closing?
No, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
And stay tuned. Like I said, Francisco will be back. We're getting some more information on the Live to Lead event on October 11th.
Once we're allowed to tell
you that Steve Harvey's going to be there or not. And see you again next week on 360 Degrees to Success. Take care.